And good afternoon, all you awesome people out there. My name is Scott Schertzen, alongside Mr. Brandon Kay and Mr. JD Walker, and welcome back once again to Chatting with Awesome People, as we are joined today by Orange the New Black, Blue Bloods, Boardwalk Empire alum, and 1,000 other things as well. And now currently on the Blacklist, Mr. Mike Houston. Sir, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Awesome.
As I said,
I'm good.
yeah. I know in this case, basically, you're a happy camper right now. We're going to be talking some Denver Broncos because now, once again, the Broncos have traded for, in this case, picked up another veteran, future Hall of Fame quarterback, this time in Russell Wilson. So
that has already won a Super Bowl too before they come to this team.
That's right. I feel like Elway has really kind of put his mark on this, saying like the only way we're ever really going to succeed in winning Super Bowls is to take on old winning Super Bowl quarterbacks. And, maybe it's just the history of the last decade and a half of drafting quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's just so funny.
They certainly tried to draft and develop one. And
every time we try to do it, and it just fails miserably. I thought the one guy I thought we really had a chance with was Rippon. I thought he was going to end up being something, it's just the strangest thing. But then there's a beautiful thing about the state of Colorado, right? Like it is open, it's airy, it's mountains, it's hiking, it's beautiful, it's sunny all the time, and it's really easy to court people from out of town to come play for the Broncos, and simply based on that alone, I think, honestly, because it doesn't go by me a day that I'm like, man, it's nuts how we keep building winning teams through free agency or trades at that quarterback position.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And now you got, and the funny thing is like Peyton is now a resident of Denver, like lives there, he is a local. It's awesome, man. And he's heavily involved in the town, and, Russell seems really excited to be there as well. It's really cool.
Isn't Peyton trying to buy into one of the ownership groups that is?
I think so, and I don't think he's going to get in there unless he joins. Right now, it's one of the Walmart heirs is really in the front line, I think. So I'm not sure if Peyton's going in on that. I thought maybe he was trying to get involved in a different kind of league there for a bit, but yeah, it's just cool that these guys come in and just become so comfortable and happy to be in Colorado. And then, but yeah, it's just great. The only thing is, man, it made Thursday night kind of boring for me,
Yeah. First pick.
You dumped all your draft picks in order to get Russell Wilson in this case.
Yeah, the first pick at number 64 in the second round, though, the linebacker Nick Bonito from
a guy from Oklahoma. Yeah. Yeah, and so it's just been interesting, and it is fascinating to really see what we gave up. But that's where I started putting it together. I was like, oh, I see. They're like, we're not going to build through the draft. We're literally just going to try to win now. Well, for good reason. You don't want to bring a guy in that's 8 years into the league to say like, hey man, come help us with our rebuild. Like that's not going to happen. So it's interesting to watch what we gave up, because at first when it happened, I was I was excited, but I was like, whoa, man, I feel like we're giving up the farm for this guy. Like, also, has he been playing at his elite level for the last couple of seasons? I don't think so. But, you also put together what team was he behind, who was his offensive line in Seattle at the time. And, they kept trying to address that stuff. And so I was like, man, I don't know, man. This guy might kind of be past that. But then you look at all of his weapons now that we have cultivated through the draft and through free agency. I mean, it blew my mind that Melvin Gordon did the 1-year deal. I kind of think that he probably wasn't seeing a big market out there for him, and he has a place in Denver. And so, and again, when you have all of those teams and pieces come together, we could be pretty electric, man. We immediately just became, to me, way more competitive in the AFC West than we have been by far.
And the AFC West is arguably the toughest division in football, especially
Yes.
as far as
that's where I was gonna go with
quarterbacks go. You have an up and coming star in Herbert.
Yeah.
Mahomes is one of the best in the league, and David Carr is kind of up and down. But
Yeah,
now,
he's a tough one, man. That's a guy like I've been rooting for him since he came into the league. I just like him. I like his competitive
and
spirit.
now the Broncos are finally worthy of being in that crew with those.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we certainly have the names for it. I actually thought we were going to get Von Miller back. I was like, oh, this is what we're going to do. We're going to let him get his championship with the Rams, and then we'll just bring him on back. And now I'm terrified that he's at Buffalo.
I'm surprised when he went to Buffalo. As a Jets fan, I'm like, great, I got to deal with Von Miller still, twice now. But it's just surprising. It was just like Buffalo. It was just very like mind-boggling at first reaction.
Yeah, well, they gave him money. They really paid him.
They paid him.
Again, a linebacker, in his 30s.
Yeah, an aging linebacker.
I was a little surprised, but so maybe I'm thinking that maybe Buffalo was the only team that was giving him that kind of deal. I'm excited. The coolest thing about the Broncos for me and being a Broncos fan is that we're fans of the players like just as much as the team. So when they go on to do other things, we're rooting for them every time. At least in my experience and the people I hang out with.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a fact with Von Miller of being the anchor of that defense.
Yeah,
now, he went to the Rams with Buffalo. Now he could plug into a defense that is very, very, very solid without him. So it takes so much off of him that he can just be. Put him
in situational. Third downs. And it's his. He's going to live his best life. He's not going to be taking shots to the knees and to the ankles every single time he rushes. And you put him in on the right place with that. I mean, with Buffalo's defense, it's going to be awesome to watch. But no, very excited that Russell's in town. He has immediately just made himself welcome. And everyone loves it. He's been to all the Nuggets games, or he's been to a couple Nuggets games, sitting, sideline, or courtside, which is awesome to see. I love when athletes keep that mentality from when we were in high school. When we played sports in high school, we would go watch basketball. We would go support our guys, because we all played with them at some point. And I like that when we get to the professional level. It just always, and I mean this for all cities. I love when I see, Pittsburgh Steelers, hanging out and watching Philly 76ers, or Eagles doing the same thing. I just think that shit's cool. And so it's been cool. And like, he threw out the first pitch for the Rockies. And so we've really embraced him, and he's embraced the state and the city. And I just, it's really exciting. It's really, and to now have Judy, like, these young guys, and Cortland Sutton is going to this is the thing. Russell Wilson's aging, but I think that we have young players in place that Seattle no longer really had. They have Metcalf, but that was the monster that they had. And then who was his other go-to? Who? Lockett, right. Lockett. But Lockett's been around a long time, So he's got some young guys. Sutton is in, I don't know if this is a contract year for him, but his stock keeps going up and up and up. But he's got to have the complement for it. Bridgewater was an interesting experiment. I like Teddy Bridgewater. I've always liked Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's a competitor. I think he's a leader. But he definitely did so many of the same things that I used to not like him for when he was in Minnesota, and even in New Orleans, like his propensity to not put enough oomph on the ball just always caused those little tiny problems. And then I'm telling you, I think the thing that kind of changed everything was that play when he ducked out and like didn't make the tackle. I don't know if you guys remember this game.
Yeah, I did see that.
Like we were in this game. I think it was the Raiders, and it was the Raiders because it was like a rivalry game, and we were in it, and that play changed the whole game, and the fact that he just kind of sidestepped a little bit, and all due respect,
he blew out his knee to the point where they almost had to amputate his leg. So I can't
right. So I think he made a decision in that moment,
which
all natural human beings would do, which is my knee is more important in my longevity than this play, which I get. However, media is media, and also it's like, that's cool, man. We kind of need a quarterback that can take the hit, that doesn't necessarily need to stress about it. I'm not saying Russ Wilson's going to be that guy either. He doesn't seem to have to be. Here's my big concern, and this is why I was surprised with the draft so far. I still think our offensive line is not great.
Yes.
And I was like,
I've said the same thing about the Jets. And Seattle went and picked out all those offensive linemen after they got rid of Russell Wilson. So Wilson is watching it in Colorado like, what the hell? This is what I've been asking for years. Now you do it after I leave?
Yeah, great. I uprooted my whole family and my life to go to a lovely place, but I was very happy in Seattle. All I asked for 7 years was an offensive line, and you kept giving me other things, which is great, but my body didn't like it. Yeah, I'm with you. And then, and so watching the Broncos in the draft so far, I like that we're getting defensive help. Again, we have three picks in the 5th. So, and it's always interesting.
Defensive end in the 4th round, and the tight end from UCLA in the 3rd round.
Yeah, 3rd round, and we definitely needed a tight end, because we got rid of Fant in that deal. And I like this guy from UCLA. I went to University of Colorado. And so I watch Big 12 Pac-12 all the time. So I've watched that guy, and he's awesome. So very excited. I really wanted to get that guy from Colorado State. What's his name? I don't remember. He went to Arizona in like the middle of that 2nd round, and he's awesome. And I always also like having Colorado players be able to stay and play for the Broncos. Like Philip Lindsay was one of the greatest things ever, because growing up in Denver, going to Denver East, then going to Colorado, and then going to the Denver Broncos. And I was like, please don't let him go. Please don't let him go. Please don't let him go. But you know what? It's another guy I think we'll end up bringing back eventually. So,
yeah, the Broncos and running backs over the years has always fascinated me, especially going back to the Shanahan years with the blocking schemes he used. I think I could have run for 1,000 yards behind those offensive lines some years. It was just one right after another. It was like a machine, plug and play.
Really, we were kind of like a running back factory in terms of we would get really good, solid guys, and we always do. And that's I'm interested. I'm really interested. And Melvin Gordon played awesome last year. He had a hell of a year. I was really impressed. Another guy, from an injury that I don't know mentally how you have the fortitude to get past an ACL injury. I mean, an ACL injury when I was in college and high school, was different then. The surgery, it seems as if the surgeries they're doing now make you cyborg ready.
The medical technology has come such a long way just in the past.
And I bet that makes it a little easier on the mental game too, to get these guys confident to go back in there and say, you're going to be fine. You're not going to, it's not going to blow up the way it blew up before, but we never know. It's football. But I'm excited. And to your point, man, since Terrell Davis came in and just became what he became, and then we kind of snowballed. We kept going,
A Jersey. It was actually a Jersey guy that was one of the plug and play guys over the years. No Sean Moreno.
I remember No Sean. Yeah, because didn't he go? He came out of Georgia, right? We drafted.
Yeah, he went to Georgia, but he went to Middletown. He went to Middletown South High School in New Jersey. So
that's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, I know where Middletown. I've been to Middletown. That's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, and again, No Sean, Clinton Portis. I mean, he's had a bit of a rough run lately, but at the time he was a hell of a running back. So it's exciting to see that. But I think with Russell Wilson, with the weapons we have, we just need to get, I think personally, bigger on the line. And we need, did we end up, I haven't focused a ton on more of those interior lineman position, free agency stuff. Is Bull still on our team? Garrett Bull, the left tackle. I think he is. He's the guy. Is it Bowles? Who's the guy that we drafted? He was our 1st round draft pick 3-4 years ago. Our left tackle, number 72. He's big. Went to Utah.
Garrett Bull.
Yeah. So he is when he is playing well, he is one of the best linemen in the NFL. But he holds all the time. Like he gets beat. Last year was crazy because he started the season. There were no holding calls on him for like 6 games, and we were like, "Oh, this is it. This is it. This is the Garrett Bowles. This is what we've been waiting for." Like he has arrived, and then the second half of the season, it just fell apart, and so that stuff doesn't help, especially. But then you have, I mean, with Teddy Bridgewater, it does not. He had to hold because Bridgewater can't get out of the pocket.
Yeah,
now
Bowles
he's got a
still
guy
on the Broncos roster.
What's that?
Bowles is still on.
Okay, all right.
Roster,
and I'm sure that again, now that we have a quarterback that has the mobility that Russell Wilson has. And yeah, to your point, man, like those offensive lines that you can get those yards. I think when you have a quarterback that has that ability to scramble, and I mean, he's going to be the best scrambling quarterback we've ever had, if you ask me. Like in terms of being able to manage outside of the pocket. Yeah, I mean, look what he did to us in the Super Bowl.
He's the smartest.
He's shredded you guys.
Oh, he is such a smart quarterback.
Yeah, and Manning had all the mobility of a brick. So anything's an upgrade from that, of the ability to move a little.
I mean, it was interesting that we went through that phase of like, okay, well, we had Peyton, and we're like, okay, this is it. Here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna keep drafting 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" quarterbacks, put them behind this offensive line that we think is going to be able to keep them upright. And don't worry, we don't need them to be mobile, And Osweiler comes in, he's like, hey, at least I can run a little bit. And it's like, yeah, man, but we couldn't. You either could run and don't have any accuracy, or you had amazing accuracy in some of these guys, but they couldn't scramble to save their lives, So it's great. It's exciting.
Yeah, and they also went with the friends and family plan of trying to find quarterbacks that were related to other NFL players, like Chad Kelly, I think is Jim Kelly's nephew.
Yeah, Kelly and Rippon,
and Rippon. Brandon and I are Jets fans. He looked great shredding the crap out of the Jets in that one game a few years.
I know. I really thought he was going to be the surprise, because I think we got him in like the 7th round of his draft, and so I thought this is a guy, because he was on our practice squad, right?
Yeah,
and, he might. No, never mind. Well, and then Chad Kelly, woof, that was a tough one. And that's annoying.
And he keep getting in trouble too.
Yes, but he was getting in trouble at Missouri. Like it was like, what are we doing? Like if they're getting in trouble, and you don't have someone kind of keeping them not in line. I don't like to use that word. Just having a good support system around him, right?
And it was like young fat boy stuff.
Yeah. And then the thing that got him in the most trouble, that was crazy. That was. I don't even know what that is. That's a guy that he just needs to get some help and get support, and I think he'll be fine. But excited.
What were your thoughts on the Tim Tebow era?
Oh, that's a good question, brother. I did not like that pick at all. And again, that's Josh McDaniels coming in, and the first thing he does is do that. And I have my own personal things with Tim Tebow. That is what it is. But as a football player, as a football fan, as someone that played football for a long, long time, I just thought, like, I don't know if this is a guy that can match up to the level you need to play that position. But at the same time, he was very exciting. And I gave him credit for that. I was like, I like his fire. I like his leadership. I like that Tim Tebow wants to win all the time, and he sacrifices himself. Like, I really do appreciate Tim Tebow as an athlete, and as a person. Like, I don't have anything personal against, his beliefs, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really care. And I think what's interesting is, like, when he was in Denver and that became kind of a thing, it was like, I think it became more of a thing because the media made it a thing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It followed him
100%.
Yeah,
well, I would say 90%
of
it was all media driven.
All media, and I'm saying, like, I grew up in a very conservative town. Like Colorado Springs, the second biggest city in the state of Colorado, is one of the most conservative places in the country. Okay, so Tim Tebow was going to flourish in Colorado based on that alone. He was going to flourish with fans. Like that was never going to be an issue. When he started doing the kneeling stuff, it was interesting because I'm not on that level I'm not into that space of Christianity necessarily, but it never really bugged me because we see players do stuff like that all the time. I mean, at the end of every game, when they're doing their outros, they got the cameras right on 50-yard line, and you've got the prayer circles every single time. We've been doing that since we were in high school. I was in Fellowship of Christian Athletes and Athletes in Action, which is another Christian sports organization, and that's what you do. The whole point is you never saw Tim Tebow going and grabbing another player and dragging him over to do it, So the media made it a big deal out of that. But then I felt that Tebow just never, the fact that he wouldn't accept or it wouldn't hear anybody say like, hey, maybe quarterback isn't the best in the NFL, but you will succeed in the NFL if you're willing to play. I mean, what I can't understand is, or I wonder if Tebow is watching Taysom Hill now and going, oh, okay. Because he's awesome. He's awesome. And he can play the quarterback position. He can play receiver. He can play tight end. He can play running back. He's so versatile that he becomes that player. Deebo Samuel is another interesting example.
Taysom also had a better arm than Tebow.
Oh, yeah.
Taysom Hill can actually throw the ball. Whereas
and that was the other, and then the playoff, right? The playoff when he won that game on that last pass. And it was awesome.
But it was also a 5-yard bubble screen and about 20 missed tackles by the Steelers defense.
Yeah. You rewatch that play as a Broncos fan all the time. You're like, we got so lucky on that play, and it was late. We were laid bare the next game. That like, no, you need a quarterback that understands the game and has the arm and the technique. So I didn't mind Tebow. But I was upset that like we put all our eggs in that basket for so long.
Yeah.
But he made it hard not to. Again, he's an electrifying player. He gets you excited. He gets you to think. I worked at a bar at the time, and we'd have our football Sundays, and man, every time it was in the last 2 minutes. If the game was close, we would all just wait for Tebow. We're like, Tebow's going to take it. And it's kind of a cool thing to have a player that's like, I'm going to put this team on my back.
Yeah, I remember the Thursday night game they played against the Jets.
That's where I was going. So that was actually the night, my very first concert my dad took me to. It was Guns N' Roses when Axl had that new band of brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Insane lineup. And that was a Thursday night. And I remember watching that game early. We went there to a bar, and they had the Izod Center that no longer exists now because it's the New American Dream Mall. So we got there like 4 hours, and we were watching like the first half of the game and then keeping up with it live during the show. And it was a close game with 2-minute drive down the field, and we're like, no, that's it, gonna beat the Jets.
I was sitting in my local bar watching that game.
Yeah,
and that night, and I was just like this. And from the beginning of the fourth quarter, just how the game was going, I said that this Tebow's going to do this, and we're letting him hang around. This is going to blow up in our face in the end, and it did. And
I'll never forget that.
And that's what he brings. That's what he brings. And so it was exciting, but it was also, I also did not like Josh McDaniels. Like anything else. I was not a fan of Josh McDaniels. I don't think
many people do.
I call him the Kylo Ren of football.
If
Belichick is Darth Hoodie, as I call him, then Josh McDaniels is Kylo Ren.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And his personnel decisions were weird. I also felt like we kind of bit off more than we could chew there, thinking like, let's go get the guy under Belichick. Clearly he's going to be a winner. And it's like a lot of those guys do really well under Belichick, and we've seen them go on like
many of them have been failures.
Historically, Belichick trained coaches
of
any
guy
sort.
That went over Matt
Patricia.
I thought
Charlie Weiss.
I thought Matt Patricia was
Joe Judge.
Genius.
Joe Judge is another one.
But he is. This is what Belichick does, though.
Eric Mangini.
He finds the assistants, right, that are so good at focusing on that thing, but then they go out, right, and get into the head coaching space and understand, like, and this is what happened, I think, with Fangio. I love Vic Fangio. I'm still a fan of that guy. I think the problem is you get to a head coach. Again, this is armchair big time, because it's like, I've never coached an NFL football. I've never coached a little league team, but I can imagine that if your expertise is you are a master defensive coordinator, like you are a defensive genius. Well, you get busted up to head coach or promoted up to head coach, and you're not really hands-on in the defense anymore. You can be as much as you can, but you are managing everything, right?
Yeah.
You're managing all the egos of all positions, right? It's different. And I think that's why you see the ones that do well in it, I think, are the ones that really figured that out and said, I'm going to be a manager of this team and let my assistants do their job really well. Whereas, I don't know, Matt Patricia, every time I would watch those Detroit games, man, he just looked miserable and like
rocking the backwards hat.
Yeah.
Pencil in the ear.
You know, and also with when you work under a control freak like Belichick, who does a little bit of everything himself.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know, when you become specialized in that one area, you know, you've never really learned hands-on how to really run things or help Belichick with it. So when they're put in a position where they have to do it themselves, they struggle with it. I mean, the same thing happens in college in basketball with most of Coach K's assistants haven't really done much as head coaches.
So yeah, it's fascinating, and I'd love someone to kind of dig into that a little bit on the psychology of it, because it is interesting. I do think McDaniels is going to do better now. I think he has now been in it long enough, and the fact that he did have that rough patch in Denver, I think he learned a lot. Went back.
This is the most talented team he's ever had going into a season.
That's true. That's true. And that's also true. Like, our team was talented, but again, with Tebow running it, it just wasn't as elite as it could have maybe been. But I still think that, you know, so yeah, to your point, he's got a good team. Let's see what he does. I still don't think I'm going to love the guy, but you know.
But in this case,
Tim Tebow was fine. But you don't draft him in the first round,
right?
As a quarterback.
But and also he just did that thing trying to play tight end for the Jaguars for Urban Meyer last year. If he'd done that 8 years ago, he'd probably still be in the NFL.
If he joined baseball earlier,
I was going to say that's after he thought he was going to be Willie Mays.
Hall of Famer. I think he could have been a Hall of Fame tight end.
Willie Mays prime.
Yeah, he has the athletic ability and capabilities to do things that other players can't do. And again, he also has this heart and drive that if he played a position space like tight end for the rest of his career, I do think that he would have really done some special stuff. I thought it was really kind of interesting that he tried to do it last year. I was just like, buddy, what are you doing? Like,
well, that was his one last shot because his boy Urban Meyer.
That's it. Because if it wasn't Urban Meyer, it wasn't going to happen.
No, everybody else had already said no, but it was Urban Meyer trying to, and like Urban Meyer moved to like the same neighborhood that Tim Tebow was in. You know, last year when he went to the Jaguars, they lived like around the corner from each other. That's how.
Oh yeah, they're best buddies.
So of course it was, and just he was trying to run it like a college program, which blew up, which like most college coaches who tries to do that blew up in his face in less than a year. And then all the other garbage associated with that, it was an absolute clown show. But you know,
I have
now
no
it was
problem having watched that nightmare just fall apart. I do not like Urban Meyer. I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
Yeah, and his history of what he did to harbor criminals of various forms at Florida,
and not even to go too deep into that, but like not only that, but like support them again, find them the help and support they need to excel at this thing that they're really good at, that they can have a life after this. But it kind of was, it was like Miami of the 80s, right? Like, or the 90s, sorry, Miami of both.
Yeah, the 80s and
you bring them all, you bring in these guys and you kind of let them exist. That's what's crazy. Urban Meyer ran college programs like NFL programs, but then he went to go to the NFL and try to run the NFL like college programs.
Yeah.
Like when he was in college, he let his players live like celebrities. Like be those guys on campus, live that space, have the swagger, blah, 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 blah. And then they'd get in a ton of trouble and stuff. And like, never really seemed really any discipline or anything like that would shift that.
Yeah, he should have gotten Aaron Hernandez help earlier before.
Oh yeah,
down the road that it did.
I don't even want to go into that.
Properly earlier, it could have been much different for.
But that is bonkers. That whole situation was bonkers. That'll be a TV movie here soon enough.
The Netflix,
it's interesting.
Special.
Yeah. While we were literally having this conversation, I just thought sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I talk a lot, so go ahead.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that I think it already is a series.
It is. I watched it last year.
Yeah.
Oh, you saw it. Okay. I'll look for it. No,
I forget the name of it, but it's on Netflix. It's like a 3-part miniseries thing on Aaron Hernandez.
Is it a documentary or is it?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I think there's still going to be someone's going to do like something that ends up on like Lifetime where they're going to have actors play the story. And then it's going to be who's going to play Aaron Hernandez. But literally during this conversation was the first time I thought about Wilson against Mahomes in a game in Denver. And I just got so excited, more excited than I have been about Russell Wilson until this moment. I was like, oh my God, that's going to be such an awesome game. Like, oh my God, these are going to be so much fun. These games are going to be so, I hope, watch what happens. 3 games in, like interceptions, like he's way past his prime.
Wilson's got a QB rating of 46.
Also going up against Herbert. That'll be a gun show too.
And that's what I'm saying. Like you're right. AFC
Even
West,
Carr.
man.
Carr's got an arm too. They'll both all go back and forth with each other. All 4 of them.
And they're all gunslingers, and they're all guys that at the end of the game, you actually do put your faith in them that they're gonna put the game on their back. All 4 of them do that. All 4 of them, and they do it well. Yeah. I think Mahomes does it better than anybody, to be honest with you. But then with Carr now having Adams, like when I saw that Devonta Adams is going to be in the AFC West, I was like, oh, this sucks. Because that guy to me is one of the best receivers ever.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
And another thing with the Broncos is that I believe in organizational culture where like if there's craziness at the top, in ownership and management or whatever, that flows downhill and affects the rest of the team. And with the Broncos being in around the mess of the Pat Bowlen estate situation and sorting out all the trustees and the family members fighting with each other in court and whatnot, and then they finally moved past that and are trying, or at least moving forward in the sale process. So just that also kind of helps with the renewed hope for the Broncos organization, where they can break the second longest active playout drought in the NFL, second only to our Jets.
The JETS Jets.
The JETS Jets. It's crazy though to think that we're in the second longest drought, the Denver Broncos, a team that
but you won. But your last playoff appearance was winning
also,
the Super Bowl.
Consider our drought though. We went from 2 straight AFC championships to zilch, nothing, ghost town, nada for over a decade now.
It's true, but you guys you've had a good draft so far.
Definitely that.
Yes,
your draft is awesome. Your draft is like exciting. It's and I would hope if you guys are enjoying it. Like it does seem that this is really bringing some energy to the Jets fan base, man. Like because living here, if I'm going to pick a team that I would root for, it'd be the Jets. Mets, Jets, Rangers, or sorry, Mets, Jets, Islanders. That's where I would go. So I'm excited for you guys. I think it's going to be an exciting year. Now, how do you guys feel about your quarterback situation?
Do you guys want to start before I get into the Giants?
Yeah.
I can unpack that for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still skeptical about Wilson. Okay. Mainly just because I've seen so many quarterbacks come and go for the Jets over the years that I have zero confidence in their ability to draft and develop one. Poor Sam Darnold had no chance.
My son.
And Wilson last year, I mean, I hope that there seems to be a little more talent there. I'm concerned I still don't believe in the Jets' offensive line. I think they still need one more player, especially after Mekhi Becton being, not looking like a bust. I think they needed one more tackle. So the fact that up until last I checked, at least, they still haven't gotten another offensive lineman is a bit of a concern for me.
At 111, this Max Mitchell.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right.
So they did, yeah. Well, all right. Going back to Sam Darnold, I loved that kid like he is my son.
You're such an apologist. You really are.
No, I really no. Like
I love Sam Darnold too. By the way, I thought Sam Darnold was awesome to watch. I thought he was going to be really special. So it's a little weird that he went backwards. It's weird.
And yeah,
Adam Gase
he's in Carolina with Ben McAdoofus that I call him. I really like I really feel so bad for Sam. I am Darnold, man. That was like my son. I loved him coming out of the draft, and I was so confident on him even up to the last year drafting Zach. I was like, look, if any of these quarterbacks aren't going to be the guy, then I am more than okay with going with Sam Darnold for another year.
Yeah,
and then,
it was only because they had the number 2 pick,
and then whatever afterwards. But look, they made the move, pulled the trigger on Zach Wilson. He's not terrible. He's just so raw. But when you see a team making the effort to surround him with the pieces that he needs to be successful, then I got to give him every chance in the world.
Well, I think this season's going to be really interesting to watch to see if it really was he just didn't have the weapons he needed, or the veteran
on the field.
Not only that, but the veteran leadership too. And that's another thing that I've noticed. When Mangini left, he retired, right? He didn't go play for another team.
He's an analyst now. I know that.
He's what?
Right.
He's an analyst.
He retired.
Yeah.
But he was such a leader on that offensive line, and I haven't seen any Jets, it seemed, to stand up and kind of take that place of like veteran leadership that you see on the field.
Well, because they never re-sign anybody.
Right.
So they really don't have much in the way of veterans.
Right.
Because
so that's why I'm interested to see what.
I don't remember. I think Muhammad Wilkerson was the last first-round draft pick that they actually re-signed for a second contract, and then he immediately got hurt.
Yeah.
I think a week after signing an extension was when he broke his leg in Buffalo, and he was never the same after that. The Jets haven't been able to draft worth crap for years,
right.
So it's hard to really. It's now at the point where if they go 7-9 or 7-10, the 17 game thing is still weird to me. If they go 7-10 this year, this is a successful season.
Yeah,
there's at least some improvement, some hope, and they've drafted a few starters from between last year and this year, so there might be some kind of hope there, possibly, kind of, maybe. But after watching the Jets as long as I have,
I'd throw a parade. I'd throw a parade for 7-12.
Yeah,
I'd throw a house party for 7-12.
Yeah.
I'll sponsor. I'll help out. I'll buy some sandwiches.
Yeah, and coming out of the ashes of Adam Gase, absolutely, it was absolutely.
I don't understand. I do not understand how he kept getting jobs.
Bug eye Adam.
Yeah, crazy eyes Adam Gase.
I mean, I honestly, like, again, another guy that I thought was a good assistant, a position coach, but as a head coach, I just couldn't understand. I was like, how does this guy keep getting chances? He just doesn't.
We'd look good too if we had Peyton Manning
convincing people to hire him.
Well, right, and then we learned that, like, it wasn't your coaching.
It was
you happen to be coaching a player that could do this on their own. You just happen to have the title, so you run with that. But like when he went to Chicago, my wife is a Bears fan, and when he was in Chicago, it was just like, I don't know.
He made Jay Cutler suck less, kind of, sort of, for one.
Sort of, kind of, maybe a little bit. That was the last guy. I will say that we really thought Cutler was going to be the guy for us. Like, and he did have a couple seasons where there was flashes, and we were like, "Oh, this will be great. He's going to be great." And then
I remember the South Park episode.
There's even reference on South Park, yeah.
It said, "Oh, that's Jay Cutler. My dad says you kind of suck, but maybe you might be good someday."
It's the truth. It was the truth. It was so hard to watch. And then, the guy is just, he doesn't get fired up the way I get fired up. And so it was always interesting to watch. Being like, Jay, are you happy to be here playing football? Like, are you enjoying playing football in the NFL? Because it looks like you're just trying to get through it. You're just trying to get through the day. You look like I do when I have to go to a bar shift.
What's I'm trying to think what I guess would be the male equivalent of like resting bitch face, like resting douche face. Like that is
Jay Cutler's face.
I think we don't even have to gender it. Resting bitch face works for all genders.
That's a fair point.
Cutler absolutely had the resting bitch face.
He really did. It was so funny to watch. But anyway,
it's funny. As a Giants fan, just switch over to this for one brief minute. There will never ever in Giants lore be worse than Gettleman and Joe Judge's last game and a 3rd and 9 quarterback sneak from inside your own 5-yard line. That is, you talk about actually reaching a low point. I've never seen a low point that bad. I mean, in this case, though, it's weird because I think in some bizarre way, I think I have more hope than the Jets Nation does. With Joel Schoen come in, the picks that were done on both sides of the ball.
I was like, you guys had a good draft too.
And Evan Neal, which is weird because
I'm fairly hopeful.
We were sharing an article yesterday.
I think it's just new for you. We had it last year. We had it last year a little bit.
Hope is a dangerous thing. Yeah. But it was funny because I was reading a Yahoo article and they graded the Evan Neal deal at 7 as a B+. And I'm like, dude, what would you need to get an A out of that?
Yeah, I agree. That's crazy. But what's the percentage? What is the difference between the 89 and 90%? What's going on? How do we get to 90% so we get that A-?
Do you somehow trade the 7 picks for 1, 2, 3, 4? Then maybe you qualify. But it's funny because Daniel Jones, obviously they didn't pick up the option, which is the smart move because that was $22 million and change there. If he's great, you franchise tag him. But otherwise, they signed Tyrod Taylor, who I've always been fond of personally.
I like Tyrod Taylor a lot.
Yeah,
he's been injured. I was hoping he'd have a better year last year with Houston, but I like the fact that they have a game plan to build a 2023. They're probably, in all intents and purposes, going to let Daniel Jones walk and then use Tyrod Taylor next year to train and mentor the next generation, whomever that might be.
Yep, I agree.
So I like so far,
and he's a great leader too. Tyrod Taylor is from what I've read, and when he was in Buffalo, like. He is a leader in the locker room. Like he has that veteran leadership. Players love him. Coaches love him. He comes in and brings that to the team, And again, what I did like about, with Bridgewater and why I think we did have some high hopes is that he might not be the most elite quarterback, but he is a leader in the locker room. That was, I think that's what made it really disappointing to watch the last couple, which is like, it just fizzled. His leadership was in the locker room, but it just didn't translate onto the field in a way that gets you to the playoffs. I think Tyrod Taylor is a guy. I think, Scott, you're dead on about all that. Like, it was clear why they didn't pick up the option because they're going to bring in a veteran that can.
They should let Daniel Jones run, not
play
walk,
for a year.
Run.
Yep.
But he'll trip. He'll trip running out to his car, though.
Yeah. He still picked up an 80-yard. Listen, as embarrassing as that was on national television, he did at least scramble for 80 yards. And any quarterback that can do that. And eventually, they got the TD anyway. It took a 4th down and 1, but they got it.
Yeah,
but
Jones is like Mitchell Trubisky 2.0, and Tyrod Taylor also his. I guess you could say mentored, but also been the poor sap that got injured to lead to younger quarterback taking over now for 3 teams.
Yeah,
with the Browns, he got injured, and Baker Mayfield came in and beat the Jets to end
another
their
Thursday night
year-long losing streak. Then he gets a punctured lung from his own trainer, leading to Justin Herbert getting to play with the Chargers, and then again with Houston last year. With Davis Mills.
What an awful thought! That, like, if you're
could be any more unlucky? Like, Jesus.
Yeah. It's like Wile E. Coyote waiting for an anvil to fall on the guy.
Yeah, but at the same time, on the other side of that, so now you have next season, the next year's draft in 2023, and like whoever that quarterback that they pull in, they're going to be so excited because they're going to be like, "Yeah, oh, I'm playing behind Tyrod Taylor. oh, I'm going to start this year.
Yeah.
I'm
Steve
I'm going to come in and I'm going
was
to become the face.
back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't. Go ahead.
Steve DeBerg was the quarterback for the Broncos before Elway. He was also the quarterback for the 49ers before Joe Montana, and the Tampa Bay Bucks before Steve Young.
It's crazy.
He played something like 18 years in the NFL, and I think he was a fill-in for the Chiefs for a bit between Steve Bono and Joe Montana.
That sounds like Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah,
right. It's the same kind of play, but Tyrod Taylor is kind of like a player like that in a way, almost.
But he had to give up to Montana twice.
Yes.
2 different teams. That has to be a weird thing.
Yeah.
To be like, hey man, look, you took over in San Fran, like my career is now what mine is and yours is. You don't have to come to Kansas City. Like, come on, man. Like, leave it alone. I have some clout there, you know.
Now, I think he was already in Kansas City, and then Montana came there.
Yeah, and then they just uprooted a bird.
That's why I think it's funny wherever Carson Wentz goes. There's like, is Nick Foles going to follow? Is he going to be the backup quarterback there?
I still don't get it with Nick Foles. He was awesome for the Eagles in that Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. He just was, and
yes,
he's played well every time I've watched him, and yet I just don't understand, or maybe I'm not watching close enough because he's not on my team. But I mean, was he terrible in Chicago? Like, is that why they replaced him, or is it because they drafted Justin Fields? Like Nick Foles just unfortunately finds him in positions where the teams he ends up on are like, we got this other. We've got a plan for this younger guy.
He's similar to Tyrod Taylor, where he gets injured at the wrong times.
Right.
But I live just outside of Philly. You know, he will be a god here forever. You know, for what he did. You know, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. Jeff Hostetler with the Broncos after Super Bowl 25 was the same way, except
barely a footnote here.
Actually threw for over 400 yards. You know, whereas Hostetler just had to not suck for the Giants to win that game. That the defense kept the Bills off the field. Yeah. You know, or like Tommy Maddox for the Broncos and the Giants. You know, with Dan Reeves in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Where he was just that guy where he stepped in, sometimes played, you know, and he's very streaky. You know, he had that one year with the Eagles and then got hurt and then ended up.
He was the XFL MVP though. The one year we had the XFL, it actually finished.
Yes, you know, Tommy Maddox in the XFL that brought him back to the Steelers, which ultimately, you know, when he ultimately led to mentoring Roethlisberger.
Yeah, man, I felt bad for him. Mm-hmm. I loved him, but I felt bad for him. I was like, who is the guy who could step into that situation and succeed? Who comes in after Elway leaves and says, okay, I'm going to be the new quarterback for the Broncos. The city of Denver put so many expectations on him. Mm-hmm. And again, he did not play poorly. Like he was fine, you know, but I just think there was too much pressure. There was too much expectation from us to be like, well, we're still going to go to the playoffs every year. And it's like, man, we gotta take a break here. You know, this is a young kid and we're not going to be stellar. You know, we got to develop him, but the shoes were just so big. And they did
it again for Brian Greasy too, a few years after.
Yeah.
You know, that also sounds like Mac Jones up in New England and that situation. Yeah. Even though you had Cam come in there, no one's like, Cam's going to be the future of this team. They drafted Mac to be the heir apparent to Tom.
Yes.
Woo! Cam didn't even make the season.
Jeez. And he is awesome. He is an awesome quarterback. I'm with you though, man, about Sam Darnold. I love Sam Darnold.
So do I.
And he looks like Wreck-It Ralph.
I never thought about that. I'm going to have to look at that again.
Yeah, I have a meme where the friend of mine put together where it's a side by side of Wreck-It Ralph and Sam Darnold, and the resemblance is uncanny.
I'm gonna have to look for that.
He's got a great waff of hair. He's just got nice,
poofy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, man, he could have been in New York. Oh my God, what just
he could have had the Namath swagger and status. Just based on his looks. He's a handsome man.
Better looking than I am, that's for damn sure. So,
oh, Scott. Come on.
But all right. Congratulations, by the way. Again, you're now back. You're on Blacklist at this point, as I just suddenly.
Yeah.
My dad's favorite show, mind you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No. Like, it's to a point.
Person of interest, though. Right?
That too.
I love that.
Back to the Blacklist. Every week, it's because it's on Netflix now too, and you can catch up every week. My dad's like, "Have you watched Blacklist yet? Have you watched Blacklist yet?" Like, I'm getting to it. I have a whole backlog of things I need to catch up on first, but I will get to it. It is on my bucket list. But
did you see Blacklist 123? Huh? Did you see the name 123 on that list? Did you see that one? Did you see the 285 list? Yeah, it's I'm so proud to be on a show, or to have the opportunity to get on a show that has such staying power. And full disclosure, so it's in its 9th season now, and I, like I said, very fortunate to get a little recurring gig on that. Honestly, have no idea if I'm coming back or not. These shows are always so interesting because when your characters put in, you tend to look at, like, has there been a resolution in my scene? Like, am I dying in this scene, or am I being fired in this scene, or am I being told to get the F out in this scene?
Yeah.
And if none of those things happen, you're always hopeful. You're always
like, you're getting your face dashed in by body kind of
randomly.
Right. Like, there might be another opportunity. My whole stuff was with, the character, Harry Lennox, who plays Harold Cooper. And so it's like, and here's the issue. I am a big fan of television. I watch it all the time, and I don't like spoilers. So I had to start watching Blacklist from the beginning because I hadn't really watched the show because I'm stubborn, and I've auditioned for that show probably a dozen times. And the fact that I couldn't get on it, I was like, I'm not watching this show until I get on the show. And then I finally get on in the 9th season. I was like, okay, I got to watch this show. And then I started watching it on Netflix, and I'm like, this show is amazing. Why didn't I watch this show? This show is so much fun. It is wackadoodle. It is. I was like talking to my wife one night going, could you really imagine living in a world where every week there's this new terrorist threat, like as big as these are, every week? And I mean, we're kind of in a weird space now, but that level of chaos. And I was like, oh, just buy into the reality of the show, man. Just have fun. And once you do, and watching James Spader just do what he does is so engaging. And so anyway, just watching it, but now we're only on season 3 because they're hour long and they're 22 episodes in a season. So for me to get to season 9, I'll probably see my stuff in about 10 years. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like.
So in season 19, you'll start seeing yourself at that.
Season 19. Yeah. And here's the thing. I thought this was going to be the last one. I thought 9 was it. I was shocked that they renewed it. But then I see that it's the #1 show in that time slot, although they did move it to Friday night.
The Law and Order block on NBC.
When they move a show from a Thursday to a Friday, that's when you're like, okay, we're gonna go out and off into the sunset.
They're just trying to rack up episode count for syndication at that point.
Yeah. Yep.
Blue Bloods has crushed Friday night.
What's that?
Blue Bloods has crushed Friday nights for literally a dozen years, and nobody thought that was going to go that long.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing, right? So now you have Blacklist going against Blue Bloods, and their audience is so loyal. I don't know what the time. Maybe it's on the same time or not. But yeah, Blue Bloods is another one. That's a stalwart. Yeah. That show will go on as long as Tom Selleck wants to work.
Well, supposedly he wanted to go 1 season longer than he did with Magnum, which would have brought it to 9.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, all right, we're just going to keep going with it.
Let's
and now
keep going. Why not, right?
What's that?
I said he's probably like, yeah, why not? Also, in doing so, both of these shows, Blacklist and Blue Bloods, they have been key in terms of work for the entertainment industry in New York. For actors, designers, Yahtzee guys, like they keep people employed and give a lot of actors their chance. That's what I do like about these shows that go on for so long, is that you get to a point and you're like, we got to find a new crop. We've already burned through You know, we've already burned through 12 guys that look like, you know, big, burly, cop looking
like
dudes.
How many Law and Order episodes have you been on, Scott? You know, that you'll get a check for because it plays, you know, in repeat somewhere.
I've auditioned, but I've gotten none of them. I've stood in on them more times than I can remember.
Right, but like as whatever role, as a stand-in or extra.
You know, it's.
But that's my point, right? Is like the Blue Bloods, the Blue Bloods background system is amazing. There are people that have been working on that show because that's Scott. Have you ever worked on Blue Bloods?
Usually picture car stuff or stand-in.
Okay.
So
if you watch it, though, like
they
do a really good job of keeping the community in the same space. So it's like you have these actors, these background actors that have been on that show for years and years and years, and they play an integral part. When you see the station, you see the same person all the time. They've done a really cool job of community building. I remember when I worked on that show, I was really impressed with how they treated. And, you know, we can talk to this a little bit, but, and I'm not saying that people treat background actors poorly, but I will say that I've seen
the acting totem pole.
Yeah. And like, you can get a feel for how they're being, I don't want to say treated, but like, you can tell when a crew really cares about their background actors. You see it immediately.
I may know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
And as a principal, it's really nice to step into that because it feels like you're working with an ensemble of actors. They're all, oops, there goes my microphone. They're all, you know, working hard in the same goal is to tell this story. And it's nice, you know, and if you're fortunate enough, as I have been, to get like a little recurring speaking role on Blue Bloods, to walk in and see the same people, makes it easier for my job to just drop in and feel like I'm back in there with them as well, you know. But they did a pretty good job. I think Tom Selleck is a big reason. I mean, it's his set, like without a doubt. And
go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, I think what helps both that and also Blacklist as well is because it is such a family systematic environment on all aspects. You have 7 a.m. crew calls on a Friday, you know, or 8 a.m.
Yeah.
They have very reasonable. I was telling them before, for Orange is the New Black, there would be an occasional long day, but there would be days where you'd wrap at like 5 or 6 o'clock at night, you know, and you're done. Goodbye. With a lot of the crew people from Orange, they came from Gotham. We're 15, 16 hours right on the clock.
Oh, yeah.
Smoke overnight, you know, so many stunts. So a lot of the crew guys, first, second AD, electrical, gap, they all moved over to Orange. And they went from 16 hours with smoke and overnights to being like done at 6 o'clock. And it's like, all right, you had lunch, go home. 10 and a half hours, 11 hours, you got.
I will say, like, we definitely had a couple long ones in the fourth season and the fifth. But those were some complicated shoots. But the one director you would always want to see is Andrew McCarthy.
I was going to add, he does Blacklist too.
That dude is amazing.
Weekend at Bernie's, by the way.
If you're on a crew and you see Andrews coming in, I know you're going to be happy because he cares about the people that work and he cares about, well, they all do, but he's just really good at getting you out at 6 o'clock, you know, a 12-hour day. He doesn't push it. And he's really great because I remember, you know, on season 6, I had some fun stuff I got to do with Taryn Manning and James McMenamin. Our characters kind of went on this little journey.
Is this Rye Playland?
What's that?
Is this Rye Playland with the teddy bear?
Yeah.
I hate roller coasters.
Oh, buddy. I hurt my knee. I hurt my knee really bad on that water log ride we did. You know, like when we hit. I don't know if you remember, but like I think I blew out my knee. It was awful. You can see it if you watch the episode because first of all, the director put it in slow motion as we were coming down. It's like, woo! When we hit, you can see my face just cringe in pain. And I'm like lifting myself up because it hurts so bad. Anyway, but Andrew would come in, man, and just, you would do a take. And, you know, you want to get the most out of the take you can as an actor. Like you want to put, you want to get the most out of your thoughts out there, right? You want to make sure it's reading right. It's truthful. It's you don't feel like a fraud. And sometimes you get in your head and so you want to do another take. You want to do another take. Because you're like, oh, I don't know, I just have this idea, I want to do this, and Andrew won't let you do it because he doesn't need it. He's like, no, man, I got what I needed. Like, I'm the director, I see it, I know what it's going to look like, and I know it's going to fit in the show perfectly in the broader story. And what it does is it makes everyone happy, because then we don't do 15, 16-hour shoot days. We do 10, 12 out of 10 consistently. And, Blacklist, I was shocked because watching it in the first 3 seasons and the stunts and all, I was like, these days must have been brutal. But being there now, and again, my stuff is never on any of those crazy stunt days. But again, they're so efficient. But they've been around for 9 years. Like, you get in a groove, and it's like going to just any other, normal day job.
But the advantage to that is because it's shorter, the execs at NBC or CBS respectively see it also from a monetary standpoint on that side of it. Because you're not paying as much as overtime. You don't have to worry about a lot of, the issues that go on with penalties or I read
it helps with the longevity of the show too by keeping those costs associated extra costs down.
Keeping your crew keeping your crew in a place where it's not exhausting, so they look forward to going to work, and you have a show that's exciting because it's the same people who've been working on that show for years and years and years, because you're not beating the hell out of them. Go ahead.
I was going to say also for like a lot of the people that are on Girls 5 Eva on Peacock, they came from Kimmy Schmidt, they came from 30 Rock. Right. It's all Tina Fey.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, but that's the point, right? So that's the thing too. Like, that's why studios will hire Andrew McCarthy, because you're going to keep in budget, you're going to get a good product, and it's going to be on time. And it was, at first it threw me a little bit, because I was like, hey man, you were an actor, like, how this works. Like, sometimes, like, you need a little more. I need a little more time, and then you realize, like, no. And then I've directed like plays and stuff, and you go, oh, okay, I get it now. Now I understand. It's not all about me. It's about the story and what makes that work. I love working with Andrew. I think he's one of my. In fact, my first episode of Blacklist was with Andrew, and that was very cool. He was very. It was just nice to see him. It's my first time that I've showed up on a job where I've worked with a director on another show, the same director, and so to have that rapport already established, that was pretty cool.
Now he wasn't.
Then I freaked out. I geeked out on him. I was like, "What's it like directing James when you guys worked together growing up?" I was like, "You were my idols growing up, man. Like, working together and doing your show. Like, what was it? Was Andy McCarthy in Less Than Zero? Him and Spader were in some together, and I just remember, like, I just was like, "What's that like?" And he's like, "Oh, it's fine. It's great." He's like, "I mean, I've been directing the show since the first season." I was like, "Oh, okay. I did not realize that you have been directing James Spader for years and years and years now." So, but I geeked out. I thought that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
But like you say, with a lot of shows like this, and NBC may continue to run Blacklist, even if it's on Friday nights for a while too, because of that. Obviously, Thursday night is now going to be Law and Order night, with all 3 of them going.
They could even make it into like a Peacock exclusive or something down the road.
They could. It's all going to be. It's going to be up to James Spader. Like I said, I learned pretty quickly. Like, again, he's a big voice on that set. He's an exec producer. And it's his show, and so I think it'll go on as long as I think he wants to go. I'll say this: if he were to say, like, after next season, like, yeah, I'd like to maybe do another season, they'll do it, because he's so good at what he does that I don't ever feel like I'm rewatching a performance. It feels like it's something new each time, which is crazy in 9 years to see that he's still making that character interesting. But I think he'll give it up when he's ready,
Yeah, the show has now been on long enough that they'll keep doing it for as long as James wants to keep doing it. You know, similar like Mark Harmon with NCIS, Marissa Hardigay with Law and Order SVU.
She's never going to retire.
He's now among that crew where just kind of like the show goes as he goes.
Yeah, it's not going to be like The Office, where it's like you get rid of the number one on the call sheet, and then all of a sudden the ensemble steps up and makes it. This is a personal opinion.
Yeah, that's kind of what they're doing with NCIS now.
I loved when The Office I loved it. Was season 7, I think. Oh, another one. James Spader was in that.
I was going to say, he walked under this one at one point.
One of my favorite characters of all time, Robert California. I mean, unbelievable. But to take Steve Carell out of that, the ensemble stepped up, man, and I enjoyed watching them run the show. It was cool. You're not going to do that with Blacklist. Like that's just not gonna. It's not going to work. So it's pretty cool that I get to work with a guy that has that longevity.
Intimidating at all?
I haven't met him.
Okay.
I have not met James Spader yet. None of the stuff that I have done has run into his space yet. And I haven't even seen him off camera. I've hung out with some of the other guys, the other crew of the Black Site folks, like Diego and Amir, who played a couple of those characters. But like I haven't even seen him. That's why I was like, man, I really hope somehow I get into a space with Cooper and we find out that somehow Spader had something to do with it. And so I'd be in that. I just want to watch him live. I think that'd be awesome.
Nice. You'll get I'm sure you'll get the chance at some point. I mean, right now it's the first AD just reading the lines, but for you as needed, but it is what it is. But yeah, we're going to probably try and wrap this up because now we're at 2:15 in the afternoon. So this has already been almost 75 minutes here. Real quick, if people want to get in touch with you, send autograph requests, follow all the cool stuff that you have. Like I said, because we never even touched on like all the stuff that you've had previously, going back to Rescue Me, for God's sakes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've been very lucky. I've had a nice career up to this point. I've got some things on the burner. I just shot an indie last week that it's really exciting. It's a dark thriller that'll come out probably either later this year because they're really good crew, or into 2023. And it's called Bury Me When I'm Dead. Then like I said, Blacklist just kind of still up in the air on that, and that's about it in terms of like. Oh, and then there's a film coming out in November that I can't talk about in detail, but that's coming up.
Well, there's a couple things on IMDb that I've already listed. So
yeah,
I don't think this one's going to live.
One I watched.
Okay,
this one's not going to live. I actually requested to go uncredited in the movie, and I'll explain later why. I know it's very secret, but I can't even tell you why I did that. But it's a powerful movie. I'm very, very happy and blessed to have been a part of it. That'll come out in November. Nice. I was like, should I give the release date? Because they just put it out the other day, and I was like, no, not going to do that yet.
It's okay. So check out
They do the trailer at Cinecon. I could probably talk about it now. I had to sign this NDA that it was like, don't talk about this. I think I can tell you what the movie is. I just can't tell you my role, but the movie's called She Said.
Okay.
And it stars Zoe Kazan and Carey Mulligan. And it's based on the two New York Times reporters, Jodi Kantor and oh gosh, why am I skipping? I can't think of her name right now. I'll think of it in a second. But these two New York Times journalists were the ones that broke the story about the settlements that Harvey Weinstein had been paying out for all the allegations. And that's really when the Me Too movement exploded, was out of that story. And it's incredible. It's incredible it's based on a book called She Said. And
here in New York too.
Yeah. And it's unbelievable what they had to deal with to get that story out. So yeah, I was able to participate in that film. So I'm very excited about that.
Nice.
And you can find me on social media. I'm off Twitter. Went off Twitter about a year and a half ago, and it was the best thing that's ever happened to me.
I don't blame you. It's an angry place.
Once I'm big enough to hire a whole like social media staff that just handles all that stuff, that I don't have to actually go into Twitter and read the awfulness, I'll get back on. But for the time being, I'm on Facebook.
Yeah.
I have a page, Mike Houston. You can hire me for any fun events, birthdays, celebration, call outs on I'm on Cameo.
Mhm.
And then on Insta, I am the big fella, all one word, lowercase.
Nice.
Yeah.
So cool. So all right. Any other questions, thoughts, comments, ideas, compliments, complaints? Anybody?
I always got a kick out of how on Person of Interest that they always manage to be near one of the 10 working payphones in Manhattan.
That was amazing. That show was great too. I got to work on that show. That show was fun. A fascinating show. You know, interesting.
Scary in some ways too.
What's that?
Scary in some ways as well.
Oh yeah,
the accuracy of it, and things like that's probably not that far fetched right now.
Yeah, like it kind of nailed it for a lot of things that are happening in the
all
world.
Good science fiction turns out to be real. All of it.
Yeah.
That's why it's terrifying when I see good science fiction films come out, like Severance, a show like Severance or any of that stuff, and you're just like, oh man. Like when Black Mirror started doing what Black Mirror did, I was like, this is not good. I don't want to watch this show because they nail it every time. Something from the Blacklist ends up, Black Mirror. Something from Black Mirror ends up being real almost every single time, and you're just like, ugh. But on a good note, guys, good luck to the Jets, to the Giants this year.
Yes.
And the Broncos.
Now. Russell Wilson, let's go. Bring us another. I just want to live in that space from now on. Come play for the Broncos, win us a Super Bowl, and retire. This is what we do.
Buy a bunch of Papa John's franchises in the area.
Bring Sierra as eye candy for the.
Well, this is because what happens is you'll also get the tutelage of John Elway, who is not only a Super Bowl champion and vice president of the Broncos, but also very successful owner of a huge amount of car dealerships in the state of Colorado. So he'll teach you the business sense of things. So when you retire, here's how you set up in Colorado. And so Peyton comes in. Now he owns all these Papa John's franchises. I can't wait to see what Russell Wilson decides to buy.
Yeah. Didn't Elway own an arena football franchise too?
That's right. He also did the arena. Yeah. Man, have you guys watched any of that stuff? I know we're going long. Sorry. But the USFL or or what's that? The player, the
fan control league.
Yeah. Have you watched any of that?
Not USFL, that, but USFL.
USFL.
I was raised.
The fan control league is arena. It's arena football. I'm like, oh, you just rebranded it. Because I don't know. Like I watched Manziel play with Terrell Owens. That was nuts. But it's like 7-on-7. That's pretty much what it is.
And the fans make the decisions. It gives them interaction, which is a huge part of the discount.
Cool idea. It's a cool idea. I think it's a lot of fun, and I'm interested to see how that progresses.
I covered the XFL 2 years ago through via MetLife Stadium and everything like that. With and the last game I covered was right before COVID started off with your now new backup quarterback Josh Johnson.
Oh yeah,
There was a massive fist fight that broke out in that locker room. I got thrown out of the locker room. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, because it was a brutal loss. They lost 17-14 on the road to the New York Guardians. It was a brand new gig, and they're like, "You, new guy, go in the losing locker room." And which I never, ever, my God, ever do I ever want to do that again. And it got messy, and I didn't know what the hell to do, so I took out the phone, and started to record it. And they're like, "Get rid of it!" They lost their minds.
They all got in a fight with each other.
Yeah, it was pushing. It was messy
because they were like, "You failed on this. Like it's your fault that this happened. You didn't play hard enough."
Teammates yelling at each other like, "You messed up in the game."
It was a come from behind loss for the team. They came all the way out.
That's crazy. What an experience.
Here's the thing. Now I cover NYC.
What's a come from behind loss?
What's that?
What's a come from behind loss? Isn't that you're behind?
That was a nice
naturally
way of
behind. You lost.
It was basically the fact that they were up like 14-3 and then blew it in like the last 5 minutes.
What the Jets do all the time.
Okay.
But like I said, now, I cover, Major League Soccer, NYCFC, that kind of stuff. They won the championship last year, so that's a nicer environment to deal with. Yeah. But, oh my God, I hated doing that.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't want to do that either, man.
Got a beautiful poster to show for it.
Never again.
Thank you for taking that role.
You guys.
Coach press conferences are an interesting experience too.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mike Singletary was the head coach. He's like, I see how basically New York reporters handle the locker room. And I was like, oh yeah, that was a dig at me right there. But anyway, Mike, man, it's a pleasure. I missed you, man.
Oh, you too, Scott, man. And like, I hope we once again have that situation when I got to work on the show FBI Most Wanted and I show up and there's Scott.
Right. I brought the car that day. Yeah.
It was awesome. I was like, I love running into you on shows, man.
Yeah.
So,
and now that you're standing on a blacklist, I've stood in a blacklist. We'll see what happens for season 10 because I
Yeah,
know
right
we're
on,
not
dude.
done with the show at this point. So, but Mike, it's been a pleasure. I'd love to have you back to talk more Broncos. But as we get into maybe training camp or the start of the season. So,
dude, I love talking Broncos. I love talking Broncos, but I love talking. So just remember that,
dude. You were easy.
Yeah.
You're actually the second person that we had. We had actually a 3-time Emmy winner earlier today for sports producing on CBS Sports.
Awesome.
So so it's been a good day on that part of it. But yeah, you've been a lot of fun in this case because you are impassioned about the Broncos, and that helps a lot. So,
yeah, baby. Got the Orange Crush, babe. Bringing it back, and anytime you want to talk Broncos, dude, I'll go deep.
Yeah,
consider it done. So
awesome.
Anyway, appreciate you guys. Thanks as always. You find us on Green Punk Sports, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, also on YouTube and Twitch as well. All the places this puppy's been running today. This is also ran on Tales from the Film Set on the other side because he is an actor, so I figure throw in that channel too.
And our full website, streampunkent.com.
Yes, Streampunkent is the website as well. So if you have any questions, find me at scott.churchson at streampunkent.com or just drop us a message. We'll figure it out. So thanks as always for you guys. Thank you, Mr. Houston. You're awesome as